latest ITV news in the Tyne region with Ian Payne and Amy Lee.
Hello, good evening, thank you for joining us.
On tonight's programme, from injustice to honour, the post office scandal's oldest victim, Betty Brown, receives an OBE.
The mother of a boy abused by this man, who then faked being severely disabled, says no prison sentence will ever be enough.
A sorry affair. Southampton's manager finally issues an apology after the club's Spygate scandal with Middlesbrough.
And tea and cake at the ready. We're with the WI branch celebrating 100 years. Join us at the party later.
First, to a woman from County Durham, whose fight for justice we've followed for many years. She's received a fitting honour.
Yes, Betty Brown, the oldest victim of the Post Office Horizon scandal, has been awarded an OBE for services to justice. The 93-year-old has campaigned for sub-postmasters whose lives were devastated by one of the biggest miscarriages of justice in British history.
Betty says the honour is for all of those affected by the scandal. And for many, it's recognition of her resilience and determination to keep fighting. Tom Sheldrick reports.
Elizabeth, Mrs. Brown, for services to justice.
At Windsor Castle this morning, Betty Brown was formally honoured by the King, an OBE for her campaigning on behalf of the victims of the Post Office scandal.
It means a lot. It means the King has recognised just an ordinary person trying to correct something, to do something right by something that should never have happened. And I won't forget, the reason that I'm here is all the tragedy that this has caused. So I've got two feelings about it. Yes, I can rejoice in the award, but I'm sad that that's why I've been given it.
Betty and her late husband Oswald ran a post office branch in Anfield Plain, but they had to put in more than £50,000 of their savings to cover shortfalls caused by the faulty Horizon software. The King spoke to her for several minutes today.
He knows everything about Horizon. We discussed that, and he knows how wrong it is, and it should never have happened. So we've got the King behind us as well.
We've been following Betty's fight for justice over the last few years. She agreed her financial settlement with the government last autumn that says the compensation schemes don't make it easy for victims.
We've got terminals that record every piece of paper and every penny that we put over a counter, and they've got receipts for it. It's an absolute disgrace.
So now they want to close me down.
The police have warned that there may be delays in bringing criminal charges against those responsible for the scandal unless the government provide more funding. Betty's message to ministers?
Doesn't matter what it costs. Get the Metropolitan Police paid and get the rogues found out. I want the truth. And we've told the truth. We've given the truth. I want the people, the rogues who are sitting there, who are not telling the truth, I want them found out. That's what I want. And I'll fight for that.
So at 93 years old, and despite all she's achieved, it seems Betty Brown OBE is not stopping yet.
Indeed she's not. What a day. Betty, congratulations. Tom is live in Parliament for us now. Tom, have the government responded to what Betty said there today?
Yes, Ian, we put her remarks to them and they have just sent a response. The government paid tribute to Betty Brown on receiving her OBE and describe her as a fierce advocate for postmasters and their families. They say they are striving to deliver justice as swiftly as possible, and so far they've paid out more than £1.5 billion in total to more than 12,000 postmasters. I also mentioned the calls for the police to get more funding to carry out the criminal investigation. The government have said they've allocated a further £2.8 million this year and are considering requests for further funding, so that's something to keep an eye on.
Tom Sheldrick in London for us. Tom, thank you very much indeed. Now, the mother of a child who was abused by a Northumbrian man says she welcomes his 15-year sentence, but says no sentence will ever be enough for what he's done to her son.
John Siddell from Ashington was jailed last week for abusing 3 boys in Leicestershire between 2018 and 2021.
He was also found guilty of perverting the course of justice by faking illness and disability. Chris Jepson reports.
This is the moment Northumberland child abuser John Siddell was arrested, laying on a sofa pretending he couldn't walk or talk.
I can see your eyes moving there, John. So if you can hear me, James is going to sort you out, get you changed.
Siddell and his brother James lying to police, claiming he'd suffered a stroke and had to use a wheelchair. But the 3 boys who suffered abuse at his hands in Leicestershire between 2018 and 2021 have been left with trauma. One boy's mother, who we've called Caroline, is voiced and acted by a journalist.
He just couldn't concentrate at school. He couldn't focus at school. He went through different stages of anger, upset, frustration, and then he was trying to process what had happened. He wasn't sleeping, he had nightmares, he was massively struggling emotionally with everything.
The brothers were caught out when a detective noticed John sitting upright in his wheelchair with his eyes open during a hearing in Northumberland.
I went into the offices, and it's a large glass front side to the office, and within a couple of minutes John was wheeled in, and as he passed the window he was again like this and stayed that way throughout the assessment.
Do you want to jump on us with? Something didn't add up, as every time Siddell was in the presence of police he appeared incapacitated. So officers started to gather evidence to prove Siddell was lying about his condition, including this CCTV at a bingo hall and Elvis tribute night in June 2024.
John was selling domino cards within the social club, talking to people walking around. So we've gone from the point of someone who is completely mute and immobile to suddenly being able to go out and spend nights out and talk to people.
John, how do you account for these facts? No comment.
As soon as the police got involved, our world stopped. But for them, their world carried on. They moved back to Northumberland, they got on with their lives, and that was frustrating me the most. He could go out drinking, he could go out shopping, he could do all the normal things that people do, but we couldn't as a family, because we were dealing with this emotional heartache.
Is he no weight bearing then?
He's a ton weight.
Oh, right, okay.
Siddell even managed to dupe health professionals who initially deemed him unfit to stand trial. But he was eventually sentenced to 15 years in prison after being found guilty of abuse and perverting the course of justice.
I was amazed he got that long, if I'm honest. I was told all the way through by my family not to get my hopes up for a long sentence. I was very shocked but happy. No sentence would ever be enough for what he's done and the hurt that he caused.
Who came up with the plan to pretend to be mute and immobile in order to avoid a criminal trial?
Nobody.
His brother was also jailed for 2 years, 9 months for perverting the course of justice. But it's the abuse inflicted by Siddell the victims will never get over.
He's vile for what he's done to my son, for what he's done to my family. You can't quite believe it. To make out he has disabilities, to make out that he's mute and in a wheelchair is disgusting. It was almost like a show that he was putting on constantly.
Caroline is now supporting her son in his recovery, but still lives with the trauma of what Siddell did. Chris Jepson, ITV News.
An inquest into the death of a teenage girl who died after being pulled from the sea at Whitley Bay has heard that it was a very distressing scene for the emergency workers who treated her, but that everyone was doing their best.
The 13-year-old Edie Smart from Monkston died in hospital 4 days after being swept into the sea by a strong wave last summer.
The inquest at Newcastle Coroner's Court is underway, from where Johnny Blair joins us tonight. And Johnny, today's evidence focused on the treatment that Edie received at the beach.
Well, Amy, this inquest is exploring the full circumstances of Edie Smart's death, including the emergency response and potentially safety at the scene. It is the family's belief that opportunities may not have been taken which could have made a difference to the outcome. Today we heard that the 13-year-old was brought to the shore unconscious with water in her lungs. It was a very distressing scene, said one emergency responder, but everyone was doing their best to stay calm under the circumstances. We worked together as a team. The inquest also heard that the initial North East Ambulance Service crew which arrived, which was the closest, did not have the authority to use the most powerful type of suction machine to help clear Edie's airways, but they did have access to a manual one until a paramedic arrived shortly after. A consultant for the Great North Children's Hospital in Newcastle, whose team treated Edie on arrival, said that the cause of death was oxygen starvation, cardiac arrest and drowning. Now, the family, through its barrister today, thanked individually each of the emergency services staff and hospital staff who gave evidence today for trying to save their daughter's life, and the inquest here continues.
Johnny Blair in Newcastle for us this evening. Thank you.
The ITV Evening News continues at 6:30.
Coming up in the ITV Evening News, questions for police after body cam footage shows a Southampton student being handcuffed as he lay dying. Peter Murrell returns to court after admitting he embezzled more than £400,000 of SNP funds and what he spent it on. And could this astronaut be the first person with a physical disability to reach orbit? Do join me for those stories and more at 6:30.
Now, a charity is working to try and make the British countryside more welcoming with new projects to improve access to some of our most picturesque parts of the North East.
The charity is called National Landscapes. It maintains beauty spots across the country and hopes to make the spaces more inclusive for all backgrounds over the next decade. Nick Smith reports.
Nature is for everyone is a message we hear often, but for many people, getting out and about and enjoying the outdoors isn't always easy. The North Pennines is a designated UK national landscape, recognising its beauty and significance, and work is underway to try and get more underrepresented groups exploring trails, like here at Bowlees on the River Tees.
Several sites around the North Pennines, we've now got trampers, off-road mobility scooters that allow people to explore perhaps with mobility issues and to get to places if you can't walk as far. But at the same time, you can't expect everybody to have high-end gear. If we're doing events, we can sometimes lend people things like wellies and waterproofs to give people that opportunity.
For people that haven't had nature in their lives, there can be a lot of emotion around discovering how great it can be to be in nature. It can support us to feel safe, to feel accepted, to feel welcome. And we are part of nature, so not being connected means we're missing something of ourselves. So there's something really powerful for people to just take the time to acknowledge emotionally what does it mean to have not had nature in their lives.
Beth Collier runs a charity aiming to reconnect people from non-white backgrounds with the countryside and feel more rooted in rural spaces to overcome an initial reluctance.
If you are lucky enough to have had these kind of natural settings all of your life, it can be easy to overlook how for some people it's just not on their radar. It hasn't been part of their culture, the family culture, the community culture growing up. And so there's something that becomes quite alien or quite separate. Alongside that message that it's not for us, we don't belong, then nature can get screened out.
Neil Chakraborty headed up the Rural Racism Project, a study profiling hundreds of experiences of exclusion in the countryside. He says inclusive projects are a great gateway into opening up these spaces for everyone.
I'm so happy to see these kinds of movements and associations thriving. I think it's really important for us to acknowledge that the countryside is a diverse place. It's a diverse place, but it can also be exclusionary. I don't think we should shy away from that or pretend that it's otherwise, but instead embrace the joy that's to be had for everybody. I think there's a real human case for doing that, but there's also an economic case. It's something that can benefit everybody.
While inequalities around access to nature do still need to be overcome, they are being widely acknowledged by advocates of our countryside. They hope to reinforce the message that the great outdoors is truly for all of us. Nick Smith, ITV News.
So, Southampton Football Club said sorry for the Spygate saga today. Remember, they were thrown out of the Championship playoffs after admitting Football League charges of spying on a Middlesbrough training session.
Simon is here with us now. So, is this heartfelt apology the one that Borough have been waiting for, Simon?
I don't know. It's two men saying sorry, but it could also be interpreted as a club feeling sorry for itself. So, previously on Spygate, Southampton spied on Borough, then beat them in the playoffs, then the Football League threw them out when they admitted spying on multiple clubs. Borough went to Wembley and lost the final to Hull City. Hull had threatened legal action if they lost because they felt messed about by the whole affair. Yesterday, the written reasons for Southampton's expulsion were released, and it was quite damning stuff, including pressure being put on junior members of staff to carry out the spying. Now, Southampton never denied it, but argued it gave them no sporting advantage. Today, the club released videos with the chairman, who does say sorry, but still doesn't agree with the punishment, and head coach Tonda Eckert, who's staying in his job and says this sort of thing was commonplace in his previous jobs in Europe, and no one really minded. But he also says sorry.
I do want to apologise, and I hold my hand up, because as a head coach, I am responsible.
I'm sorry for how this season has ended. I'm at the head of the football club and I must take responsibility for everything. But I also believe the sanction imposed is grossly disproportionate.
It's been common practice in Germany to observe training sessions, knowing that other teams would do the same. I don't want to say this to excuse anything that we have done. I just want to give you context.
So, Middlesbrough Football Club declined to comment on Southampton's latest thoughts on the matter, Simon. So is this sort of finally it? Can we now say we're at the end of Spygate?
Well, Borough's partner ended when they lost the playoff final, and because of the result at Wembley, there's no need for Hull City to take this any further. But it might not be the end of Spygate for Southampton. They are still subject to an FA investigation, which is separate to the Football League Commission, and the FA could choose to bring charges against individuals or Southampton as a club. But today the Saints said sorry, and I suppose it comes down to a question of whether you think they mean it. I mean, I think they're sorry they got thrown out of the playoff final, and they obviously think the punishment is a bigger scandal than the crime itself. I'm not convinced they're really sorry, but I am convinced that when Middlesbrough play Southampton in the Spygate derby next season, the world will be watching.
Yeah.
Won't they just? Won't they just? To more important matters. Last night we discussed Kevin Keegan's latest comments about his own cancer diagnosis. So to hear bad news today about another former Newcastle United manager was surprising and shocking.
Yeah, it really was. Kenny Dalglish revealed today that he is also undergoing treatment for cancer. The 75-year-old wanted it to remain private, but he accidentally posted the news on social media. He said in a statement, "Unlike my mobile phone use, the treatment is going well," which is great to hear. Newcastle United have sent love and best wishes to Sir Kenny and his family. We echo those thoughts. Some developments on the football front at St James's Park as well. Magpie stalwart Fabian Schär has signed a one-year contract to remain at the club for a 9th season. Newcastle also released their retained list today. No big surprises. Matt Targett, who was on loan at Middlesbrough last season, is leaving Tyneside. Aaron Ramsdale, who was on loan at Newcastle last season, has gone back to his parent club Southampton, and a permanent move is unlikely.
We are up to date. Simon, thank you very much indeed.
We are staying with sport because the profile of professional snooker has seen a big growth in recent years. In fact, the number of viewers who watched the final of the latest British Open on ITV were up almost a fifth compared to the previous year.
But grassroots players of the sport can sometimes struggle to find somewhere to get a game of snooker because local clubs are facing rising costs. Kevin Ashford reports.
Gosford Snooker and Social Club has been running for around 7 years.
and is proving popular with players looking for somewhere to have a game, especially the younger generations.
Young people are definitely stepping into the sport, especially now, considering all the young stars are there, who are winning the championships and everything nowadays.
I think in the UK it's starting to come up a little bit more because you've got players like Stan Moody, Liam Pullen, who's just qualified for the Crucible recently. So I think people like them are making people want to have a game.
A lot of snooker clubs can be quite expensive, and I think that puts a lot of young people off playing snooker, especially when you have to take into consideration like the price of cues and stuff. So the fact that the price of snooker here is affordable is really important.
To be honest, I would rather than come in here and play snooker than be out on the streets. Do you know what I mean? It's if we can encourage young players and maybe even get some star players once in a while, that would be good.
Oliver Sykes is something of a role model for all young snooker players. He had his first lesson when he was 8 years old. Now aged 20, Oliver has just earned a place on the professional World Snooker Tour.
You're not relying on anyone else. If you make any mistakes, then you blame yourself. It can be quite tough at times, but I think if you're playing well and you get good results, then I think it can be quite rewarding, definitely.
Opportunities for grassroots players in this country, however, are under pressure, with many clubs being priced out of town and city centre locations.
Most of our clubs are owner-operated, sole trader, small businesses, and what they are is really challenging businesses because of the cost of the square metres required for a snooker club, the cost of rates these days, and basically the general running costs of a snooker club do not match city centre locations, and that's where we want to have facilities, where they're accessible for everyone.
The sport's governing body is calling for the setting up of a national snooker academy to nurture talent in this country, and also wants to see snooker played in schools to help encourage players of the future. Kevin Ashford, ITV News.
Now we are heading to Northumberland, where a very special birthday party is taking place.
Yes, the Women's Institute in Stannington is celebrating its 100th birthday. The WI branch has been running throughout wars, pandemics and huge social change since 1926.
Julia Bathroom has been invited to the party. Julia, we're guessing there's plenty of tea and cake on offer, surely?
There certainly is. There is a fabulous birthday cake here for Stannington Women's WI. No tea though, it's actually fizz on offer today because it is after 6 o'clock and this is a party. We've got Jason entertaining the group here at Stannington Village Hall. This small village has had a Women's Institute for 100 years and it's still going strong. Current president, Sandra. What is the Women's Institute for anybody who isn't sure?
It's a group of women who like to meet and do different things, asking the members what they want and providing them with those ideas, those events, whatever it is.
Groups like this often struggle for members in these busy times. I think you dropped to 15 at one point, but now the numbers are back up. How are you doing now?
By asking members what they want and doing things in the village to encourage other people to come in and see what we're about.
We'll have a lovely party. One of those newer members is Emily. You joined in your 20s. What would you say to anybody who's thinking of, heard of the WI, not sure whether to join?
Just have a look at sort of what's going on at your local WI. They've all got programmes and things, so have a look and see, come along on a night that interests you and, have fun.
And you're enjoying it, yes. Thank you very much. Well, I'm going to move down the hall a bit to some of the other members and just a little bit about the WI. It may be more to it than you think. It was set up nationally more than 100 years ago, and actually they campaigned for anti-pollution, for fair pay. They were behind the fair trade movement, behind Keep Britain Tidy. They've done lots of good. Two of the members who've been around quite a bit longer, Margaret and Norma. Margaret, how long have you been in the WI?
For 59 years.
59 years. Always here in Stannington?
No. I started off in Shropshire. I went to we lived in 4 different counties.
You must be a big fan then.
Yes, I got a lot from it.
And tell me quickly, Norma, what is it you love about it?
French friendship, support, meeting lovely people. Every month, meeting someone else who teaches you something. The WI is a wonderful thing for ladies to get to know each other.
Thank you very much. Well, I feel like we've interrupted the party plenty. They've got a lovely buffet next door that they're all about to tuck into, and Jason's waiting to turn the music up again. So happy birthday to Stannington WI.
Oh, happy birthday indeed, Julia. Fabulous. Jason on the mic, the fizz is flowing. Love it.
They love a song at the WI. Let's take a look at the weather forecast for this green and pleasant land.
Midday Mayan temples, followed by sunny afternoons on the Sound. 2 week sponsors ITV Tyne's weather.
Hello, it turned drier for a time today, though a few showers have been developing, and there will be a lot more wet weather in the forecast tomorrow. It'll be windier as well, and it will feel a bit cooler too. Now, one area of low pressure is moving away from us at the moment. Another one comes in tomorrow. That brings initially a spell of rain, and following that will be lots of showers through the rest of the day tomorrow, the night, and into Thursday. Ridge of high pressure Friday, drier, quieter weather, and then into the weekend with uncertain detail at this stage. An area of low pressure brings some windy conditions and perhaps a spell of rain on Saturday. We'll keep you updated about that. Now, there have been a few showers developing over the past few hours. There are some heavy ones out there to end the day. They're gradually going to fade, and actually much of the night ahead, bar an isolated shower, is looking dry. There'll be some clear spells around. And just like last night, the temperature not falling too far. Will be a mild start to the day tomorrow at around 10 to 13 degrees. Dry and bright in places for the first part of the morning. A few showers will start to work in, but here comes the rain. Will turn wetter late morning for several hours into the afternoon, and then following the rain, the showers arrive. These could be heavy, thundery, maybe some hail, perhaps even torrential. Gusty winds, 40, 50 miles an hour around the showers are possible, and it will feel cooler tomorrow, despite the fact there'll still be a few late day sunny spells. And notice how those showers will continue through the late day tomorrow, the night, and into Thursday. We are so close to this area of low pressure. Then, as mentioned earlier, it's high pressure briefly on Friday, quieter, drier, and then the potential for at least more cloud and a stronger breeze, and maybe some rain later in the day on Saturday. We'll keep you posted on that.
2 week sponsors ITV Tyne's weather.
Making the most of summer. Piri sponsors ITV pollen count.
We have established there is some wet weather in the forecast, and that is at least dampening pollen levels. You may still have some symptoms, but overall pollen levels are looking low now for the rest of the week. That's it, you're up to date. Enjoy your evening.
Thank you, Nick. In just a moment, then, the national and the international news.
I'll be here with the update for you around about 10:30. We'll see you tomorrow. We're off to the WI party.
Oh, yes.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.